shining down on the valley. Hope to be a fly fish till the day that I die. Spring has thawed out the long bitter winter. The water is clear and the skies are blue. I'm standing in the middle of the Beaver Kill River. Might even catch and release one or two. Well, some folks like horses, cats or dogs. Me, I like fishing with a rod and a fly. Yes, fishing is a favorite pastime of mine. If I couldn't do it, I think I would cry. Well, life is good when I'm wading a river. It gets even better when I cast a fly. If I catch a trout, it don't really matter. It's fun just to be here and give it a try. Trout is rising in the far eddy. I make a false cast, then take my aim. If he takes the fly, I feel so much better. And if he doesn't, I'll feel no shame. Stoneflies and caddis and the riffles are plenty. Mayflies courting on fragrant breeze. And cedar wax wings come down from the heaven, wait for their dinner up in the pine trees. The water is cold and my waders leak, and it's raining now on my favorite stream. I'll bear it all, just fish with a feather, so when I sleep I will have a sweet dream. And life is good when I'm wading a river. It gets even better when I cast a fly. If I catch a trout, it don't really matter. It's fun just to be here and give it a try. Oh, ripples and waves, pools and eddies, trout are rising for the mayfly. And the sun is shining down on the valley. Hope to be a fly fish until the day that I die. Yes, I hope to be a fly fish until the day that I die. Hi folks, how you doing? Curtis Minkfly here for Riffles and Waves. And I'm just hanging out back here playing the old guitar. Now, today's show is going to be, we're going to be looking at old growth forest. And old growth forests are very important to trout because they protect cold water. The high canopies shield the sunlight from the base floor, and where the small streams run full of brookies. And without cold water, you won't see too many brookies there. So we need to protect those cold water places. Now, one place I know that's being attacked right now is because Route 80, the future 86, is going to go through Parksville. They're rerouting it around Parksville, and they're going to impact 3 small feeder streams because they're going through an old growth hemlock forest down in the Catskills, and it protects, this cold water feeds a brook trout habitat there. There's a old railroad bridge, and there's a pool there full of brookies in the summertime when the water gets too hot for them to go anywhere else. They love this deep pool right there. Now when they put Route Future 86 around Parksville, they're going to trash that area. So even today we are destroying old growth forest, or perhaps the oldest forest we have, this old hemlock forest. So today's show, join Dr. Jesse Troy and Mark Demetris as they go through Salt Spring State Park. waves, pools and eddies, trout are rising for the mayfly, and the sun is shining down on the valley. Hope to be a fly fish till the day that I die. Well, spring has thawed out the long bitter winter. The water is clear and the skies are blue.
Welcome to Bio 111. Another unique habitat. We're going to show you a really precious spot, unique vegetation, unique type of situations once again. My name is Mark Demetris. I'm Associate Professor at BCC. Also Rwsea, also a member of the department. We're going to go into a virgin forest today. And well over 90% of the virgin forests in our country are already gone. So this is a unique opportunity to see something that is disappearing at an alarming rate on a global scale. A virgin forest is an area that has never been logged before, and this forest has really been untouched for thousands of years. Because wood is such a precious commodity today, all too often we clear agricultural fields, log off the timber, and build, from the bed that you sleep on to the house you live in. Guarantee it's made of some precious hardwood. We're going to identify some of those today, and we're going to take a real scenic walk up a gorge. We'll get up above and we'll identify some of those things that I mentioned. Come on along. We've made it up to the virgin stand, and there's some impressive trees up here. I'm sure some of you folks have seen some large trees. Oftentimes on a farm you might find a tree like this along a hedgerow or along a property boundary and so forth and so on, but we're talking about an entire forest here. Salt Spring State Park is in northern Pennsylvania, and we have to go quite a ways today to find a virgin stand of timber, and obviously, these trees are worth a lot of money, and a lot of folks that own them, they cut them down. But they're beautiful, and we should leave them, and we should have these protected forests for they provide a very important role on a global scale. This particular tree right here is an eastern hemlock, and this portion of the virgin forest is a hemlock forest, and there's some smaller ones growing around us. We have a few right over here. The next generation, if you will, and if you've seen our tree video, the flattened needle, it's a single needle. It's not found in bundles. And if you look at the underside of the needle, it has two parallel gray lines. And predominant vegetation here. This is a climax forest, meaning that these trees will be replaced by some of their own, and it really is a very stable environment. So if we came back here 100, 200 years later, it would basically be very similar. You would find that a lot of these trees have fallen over, will have fallen over, and they'll just be replaced by these smaller ones around us. So, Troy, let's see how big this particular tree is. We have a special tape. It's a diameter, a DBH tape. It stands for diameter of breast height. So we'll be able to tell you the diameter of this tree right here, and it takes two of us to complete this task. The diameter of this tree is almost 3 feet. It's over 32 inches. And I challenge you to find another of its kind that large. Very straight, very tall, very big. One of the adaptations that's found with these larger trees is that you will find what are called buttresses. It's an adaptation to support such a tall tree. And you find this in the rainforest, and you find it in other virgin forests because the trees are so large and they need special support. We'll take you to another part of the forest which will have some of our deciduous trees. And as we walk along the trail here, you probably won't be able to hear, but the ground has a very hollow type sound to it. And as the bed of needles collect, you get a lot of oxygen trapped in the soil, and that's one of the reasons why they don't allow fires up in this area. If you wanted to have a campfire, it's only allowed down below by a creek. Unfortunately, you could do everything right here to prevent a forest fire. You could still end up having one because of underground fires as these needles catch fire and they go down the trail and pop up hours later. We certainly wouldn't want to lose this area to a campfire. Behind you, you'll see that the canopy really prevents a lot of light from making its way to the forest floor. But over here, this tree behind you, folks, was struck by lightning about 8-10 years ago. And now the light shines in an area that's normally shaded, and these smaller trees then have the ability to grow. There's no question that light is a limiting resource here. And if you happen to be one of these larger trees, you get the majority of the light. And those plants below the canopy, the sub-canopy layers, they have to have special adaptations to survive in those shaded conditions. Light is the engine for photosynthesis. Photosynthetic process provides the fuel to grow. The trees behind us, they're growing much faster than the smaller hemlocks around us. Why? There's a little bit of light peeking through there, and it's given those trees an opportunity to grow that otherwise wouldn't. And they'll be, a couple of winters, and the rest will have to lay dormant until another hole presents itself. Spectacular region. Let's walk down the trail. Measure another tree. Another hemlock? Another eastern hemlock. Let's see what we come up with here. 2 inches larger than the last one. Almost 34 inches in diameter. Probably how tall? Boy, you got as good as mine.
Oh yeah, it's well over 100 feet, I would say.
Think so?
Yeah.
Wow.
An interesting thing we like to point out in this forest is if you look off to my right, which would be your left, this is primarily a coniferous forest. When they drop the needles fall to the ground and makes acidic conditions. Just off to my left, to your right, it turns into a deciduous forest. Due to soil conditions, we have different kinds of plants can survive on this side. You'll notice that over here at the bottom the floor is quite brown. There are some ferns, but as we look to the deciduous forest, there are trees in the undercanopy that we just don't find in the hemlock forest. So it's much greener on this side than this side, and due to soil conditions, we get this change in biota.
As Dr. Rwsea pointed out, we tend to find several layers of the forest here, the canopy and then various sub-canopy layers. But back in the coniferous forest, we tend to find the canopy, smaller of its kind, and then basically the forest floor. We tend to have more diversity in our deciduous forest, I guess is probably one thing is worth mentioning. Now that we're in the deciduous forest, one of the trees that I like to point out is a large tree. It will make up the canopy of the forest. The tree has a smooth gray bark, and it can get enormous in size. This smooth gray bark, coupled with, this happens to be one of its offspring, this particular tree has long buds, long buds or stipules. And when you see the smooth gray bark, long stipules, it's American beech. It's a hardwood that isn't as desirable as others, but since our cherry and our walnut and so forth and so on is disappearing, we're using American beech more and more to fill that need. Down the trail a little bit, we have a maple, and this particular maple happens to be a representative of the sub-canopy, or if it's very close to the ground, it wouldn't get more than 15 feet in height. All maples, of course, have opposite leaf placement, and they're palmately lobed. This particular maple has vertical lines on the bark. We call it striped maple. So a little more diversity over here in the deciduous forest compared to the coniferous forest. We're going to head down the trail. I'm going to show you my favorite tree. My favorite tree. Probably you can't identify it from there, but it happens to be a wild black cherry tree. And once again, I challenge you to find another one of its kind. Dr. Rwsea and I just did the diameter of this particular tree using the tape. It's almost 31 inches in diameter. This tree, if you took it to market, would be worth thousands of dollars. But I think it looks a whole lot better here than making up your end table, your hardwood floors, or whatever other purpose that we may use them for. And this deciduous portion of the forest, there's many wild black cherries, large, a lot of red maple, a lot of American beech, and those are probably the main trees that make up the canopy here in this forest. But all of which very marketable hardwoods, and I can't stress enough, since they have so much supply and demand issue with this, and the prices just keep going up and up and up. Our virgin forests are disappearing, and most of the virgin forests that are left, they're found in in Russia, northern Canada, and in the Amazon River basin. Obviously, there's a great deal of resource there as far as financial resources there, so they're cutting them down. And these types of forests provide us with a great deal of importance dealing with the climatic conditions that we deal with on a day-by-day basis on a global level. These virgin forests are great carbon dioxide sinks, meaning they extract carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And today, as you know, the problem being carbon dioxide levels are going up. As we cut these forests down, we prevent the very process by which nature allows those levels to be stable. In addition, these forests have a huge impact on the hydrologic cycle, transpiration, and obviously vegetation needs water. They use that water and then they release that water via what's called transpiration, and plays a significant role in the hydrologic cycle on a global level. Many of these plants are endangered, not so much here in the Northeast, but when you go into the Amazon River Basin in the tropical region, with biodiversity is incredible. You know, just clearing out 100 acres could cause the extinction of various different creatures and plants, for that matter. So I can't stress enough the importance of these forests, and we really need to preserve them at this point. So much has already gone, and it's having a climatic effect. There's no question about that at all.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.